Hey everyone, welcome to this Basecamp Office Hours. My name is Kimberly and I'm on the 37 Signals product team. And I'm really excited that you guys are here today. We're doing a special office hours that we're calling Level Up with Basecamp. So if you've been on Basecamp for any period of time, you're probably using it in a very specific way. And you may not know about some of our newer features or maybe just have overlooked some features that have come out. So if you follow along with the 37 Signals plan of how we work, we update features in Basecamp every 6 weeks. That means things are constantly changing, and I know it's hard to keep up with everything. So today, me and my colleague Ashley are going to walk you through some of the newer features and often overlooked features in Basecamp. So thanks for being here. A couple of things just to get us started. Again, I said my name is Kimberly. I do a lot of our video tutorials here at Basecamp. So Ashley, if you will drop in the chat where you can find some of those, if you have any questions about how to use something in Basecamp, we likely have a video of them. So you can find that in the chat there. I also host our podcast called Rework with our founders, Jason Fried and David Heinemeier Hansen. So we'll drop that link in the chat as well. It is all about a better way to work and run your business. Put out new podcast episodes every week. So definitely check that out. I'm also a longtime Basecamp user. I was a customer for about 10 plus years before working here. So I know the ins and outs of working in Basecamp. And actually, I'm one of those people who had a very specific way of working within the product. Then I started working here and was like, I didn't know I could do that. So there are some things that you probably don't know about as well. If you are brand new to Basecamp, never seen it, don't know how to use it, don't know any features, I'd suggest you check out one of our Basecamp 101 classes. Today, we're not going to go through how to make to-do lists or how to post on the message board, the basics of Basecamp. We're going to go into some of those more hidden next level features. So if you need the basics, I suggest you check out one of our Basecamp 101 live classes with our support team. And we'll drop that link in the chat as well. So today we'll spend just about 45 minutes together going through some of our newer features and overlooked features. As I mentioned, we'll also leave some questions for Q&A. So if you have any questions that come up, post those for us. So a couple of housekeeping notes on the far right side. At the very top, you will see the chat. That's where Ashley has been dropping links there. Please let us know that you're here, where you're from. We love seeing you interact with us in the chat. Right below that, on the right side of your screen, you'll see the chat icon. Right below that is one with a question mark. So if you have any questions as we're going through the sessions today, post them in that question mark session, and we'll get to those throughout the session and at the end as well. With that, I think those are all my notes. I'm going to introduce my friend and colleague from the support team, Ashley. Ashley, hello.
Hello.
Tell us about you.
My name is Ashley. I've been at Basecamp or 37 Signals for, it'll be 7 years in about a week. So a good long time that I've been looking at this product, and also a long time of helping people out. So what I tend to do on a day-to-day basis, other than emailing you all, is replying to people with either like quick videos of new features of things that are happening, or having conversations over Zoom with small groups, one-on-one, large 20-person interactions. And we're talking about how to make sure that Basecamp is working as well for you as it can be. So we're really optimizing it. That's what we're going to get into today.
I love it.
Conversations are those conversations with people who have been at Basecamp for 5 years, 10 years, 6 months, but they've really been in it, So those are kind of like what we're going to get into in a moment here.
Yeah. And I know, like, from my own experience, like, once you figure out how Basecamp works for you, you tend to just like stick to that and stick to those features. So it's often hard to stray away and learn about what is new. So let's get to it. Ashley, do you want to go ahead and share your screen with us? And we will start with some of the home screen organization updates that have been made recently to Basecamp. The home screen is now so pretty.
It's so pretty. It's so pretty. It's so colorful. It used to just be rectangles that were all the same hierarchy of projects. And so that's like what we have an example here. So what you can do now, of course, is just add color to those specific projects if you want it. The projects have to be pinned first. So if you have a ton of things, they might be in your recently visited section. Hit that pin icon on the top right-hand side, and that's going to pull it up into this space where you can then say, let me put this project on top of another one. And so that creates a stack. It's one of our newest and favorite and most like personalized and customizable things that you can set up on your account. Maybe this is new, I don't know, client work or something. We'll save the stack here, and that's when we can start adding those additional colors if we wanted to.
And this came in response to people asking for like folders or way to group projects together. So Stacks is our answer to that. Just layering projects on top of each other, kind of create a folder that you can name.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And then what I really also like about these is that not only can you kind of organize the work for yourself, but there are two smallish links at the bottom of your stack once you open it. And that is an option to see projects and mission control, which we'll go into detail in a moment, and see the activity for these two different projects that I've isolated. So if you are managing one client, client A, B, C, and D, and then also internal projects, there is a way to kind of isolate the work so that you get the information that you're looking for a lot more quickly than sifting through everything and kind of reading at lightning speed. Let's
And
look at
just to
mission.
clarify stacks, Ashley mentioned stacks are pinned to the top section of your home screen, but
Mhm.
you can color any project that you want.
Mhm.
So if you have projects in that recently visited, you could use different colors for different clients or different cycles of work in that recently visited section, but the stacks will go to the top of your screen.
Mhm. Perfectly described. Nice. So let's look at the cycle work. Mission control is also one of those newer features for us, and it's kind of a, I don't know, in my opinion, it's a bit of a game changer because when you click into a project, you get a very quick idea of where things are. Are we on track? Is everything going okay? Are we at the very beginning of this project? Or does it feel like we've really come near the end? And so mission control can be a great way to visually indicate how things are going to anyone who's on this project. But it also gives you the chance to describe a little bit more um, the specific details of how things are going. And so if I scroll to the beginning, we see how the project is starting off nicely. It's going well. We ran into some type of issue, and then we had a bigger issue that we needed to handle. And then shortly after, you know what, we decided to approach it in a different way. So you really get a full story if you click into the details, but from a glance, you get that quick piece of information.
So move the needle, it appears at the top of every project from the beginning,
Mhm.
and you can just mouse over it, and there's a move the needle, there you go, button where you can create that update and say, where is the project? That kind of scale needle at the top tells you how far along it is. And then you have color options to indicate how it's going. So something might be stuck or at risk. We call that yellow. If there's a big challenge with the project, you might mark it red so that it shows as that big warning red sign. But this move the needle kind of gives you two ways to see it. Not only how far along is it, but what is the status of that project
Mhm.
as well.
Perfect. We'll save the update, indicate to everyone how things are going. Another way to get to mission control, if you don't want to be specific to that one project or those few projects, you can click on activity and then on mission control. And that'll bring anything else that has the, the needle enabled. It's enabled by default on all of your newer projects. So if you've seen it, you've probably seen it as you create new things. But if you haven't created any new projects, this is still an option for you. It's not new projects only. So it's available for you at any time.
And for us internally at 37 Signals, we use Move the Needle for projects that have a definitive start and end date. Anything that's really ongoing. For example, I have a podcast project. It doesn't really end, it's continuous. We use the same project week after week. There's no like end date. For those, I just turn the needle off. I don't need the
Yeah.
needle. But for cycle work, for example, where there's a start and an end, and we want to see where along that start and end timeline we are, move the needle makes a ton of sense.
I agree. The other option here is when you're back on the home page and clicking on a stack is the option to see the activity for those projects. So if we click on the other option, then we come into another page similar to where we were with activity. So there are really two ways to get to all of these different major updates. And so what this does here is that it says, all right, instead of everything, we're going to filter this by projects. And we're going to show you the activity for whatever 2 projects you've indicated or however many projects you've indicated. We can also do this by people. And so we can switch this over and say, you know what, I want to see everything that this person did as well as that one. And so then we can filter the activity and kind of really pare it down from seeing everything by everyone across all projects into this one more streamlined view, to get likely a better understanding of what is happening with your team or this particular part of the department.
And on that same note, Ashley, I know we have groups later in our agenda, but while we're on this field, I did want to just point out that you can also filter by group. So if you have everyone from one department grouped together with a group name, you can also filter by that same group name, and all those will automatically populate, and then you can filter by that group. So that's another helpful update that has recently been made. This is also one of those features that was made in response to customers looking for reporting or a better way to like see what's going on, move the needle, mission control, and then filtering activity. All of those combined really let you kind of hone in on what you want to access.
Mm-hmm. Fully agree. And I think whenever I do end up talking to people about how to streamline whatever they're doing, reporting is a side of it. And the other part of it is knowing when you have a repeatable process. And so when I click on home, we've also updated where this link is, but there's now an option to view a template and view all of your templates. And there are even multiple kinds of templates now that there didn't used to be. And so we can start to jump into the work that if you know it to be repeatable, let's make it easier for ourselves and for others, and maybe create some kind of like standard for whatever it is that we're trying to accomplish.
I feel like that template link used to be fairly hidden before. Now that it's on the homepage, it's like
Yeah.
super easy to get to, which is awesome. And
Yes.
also on templates, there's another update which makes it even easier to create a template. Ashley, do you want to talk about that?
I do. I do. I love it. It's so good. So every year, for example, we at our company, we have a project called What Works. And so ours is What Works 2024. There was a 23, et cetera, et cetera. And so what you can do if you haven't created a project, or if you have not created a project template, is that you can say, you know what, this project went really well, and I would like to repeat it. There is now an option when you click on the project and then the overflow menu, the option menu, the 3 dots, there's a way to save this as a project template. And so from there,
Game changer.
oh, I love it. It'll tell you everything. It'll give you an option. Okay, do I want to include the people in here? Do I want to include the comments? There's also a detailed note about what will come through and what will not. There's also, it links to an even longer help article so that everything that you may want to know about this page is here. And so we will just go ahead and include the comments and the people. We'll keep the same description, but we'll call it, maybe we're just getting ready for next year. We'll create the template. And so as this kind of processes, it's going to show you essentially as much of the original project as it can possibly show you without having, like some of the finer details in there. So here are the kickoffs, here are the heartbeats. Now you have so much more to start off with than just a new project from
scratch.
Yeah, let me show you. It's a big difference to go from this blank slate, which can be useful, but then to have all of that detail and then say, let me pare down instead of build up, it can be really helpful and useful.
And Ashley pointed out a couple of links where you can get more information on what changes over. Just a few highlights. If you have card table, all the cards that you had in progress move up to the triage section. So it's like a reset. Chat history goes away. The idea being like, likely you don't care about the chat that happened on a specific project on your new template. So that kind of blanks out. But all your messages move over, to-dos move over. And if you invite people, then the assignments as well. So if someone was assigned a to-do in your project, they'll also be assigned that to-do in the template.
There are also situations where maybe you don't need an entire project every single time. Maybe what you really need is one project, and within there we have a to-do list that you set up, and that's the one that recurs. That's what we do for this kind of session. We have one project, we don't need multiple, and then we just build out a to-do list. So Kimberly built out a beautiful one. So while you're looking at templates, there's an option at the top to switch over to to-do list templates. And so here I have one for cycle work, and let's look at meetup tasks because it's coming up for us in about a month. And so when we are preparing for a company-wide meetup that we have twice a year, there are a lot of details that go into it. For the HR team, specifically for our people operations team, but they have a lot of work involved here. And so similar to how they've actually done it in our account, there is a general to-do group section within the list, and then we get even more detailed. We don't need to write this down every single time we have a meetup at all. And so none of this is assigned out yet, but that's really easily done. Oh, actually, we can probably get into that now.
Let's just move on to bulk edits.
Guaranteed, this is one of my absolute top features, and probably the one that I get the most vocal response from when I'm talking to customers. They're like, wait a minute, how do you do that again? You can select multiple tasks. And so, oh no, in advance, you can then say, let me assign all of these to one person. And then when I go back down to that section, it's all assigned out to one person. Or if I can do the same thing for due dates, multi-select, give them all the same date. Let's do that here.
I was going to say, Ashley, will you show us that multi-select again? Because I feel like not everyone knows how convenient that can be.
Okay, so when you, hopefully we can all see the 3 lines to the left of the task. It's kind of got like a crosshair kind of a thing over it. And so you click on that and it brings up a side menu. Then you can either hold down Command or Control if you're on a Windows, and just select the other ones, the other same 3 lines to the left of your particular task. Or you can click the first one, hold down Shift, and then click the last one within the group. And that creates like a selection of all of them. And that's where we get that menu one more time. It's just a little bit different. I can assign these 8 to-dos to multiple people to one person. I can change, let's do the due date. It's gonna be a funky view. But to week 2 by Friday, I want all of this completed from the point that I start this list. And so when I adjust that, I now have this updated information. I didn't have to click into each one. And maybe I got this date totally wrong. Let's select them all again, change the due on, and I can shift the dates forward. Let's say by 2 weeks. So now when we look at this, it's now week 4 on Friday instead of week 2. I love it.
Well, Ashley, one of the things I didn't know about, even though I'd used Basecamp forever, and you're kind of on it right now, is these headers that you've made, these groups of to-dos, travel planning, agenda planning, this book hotel, the way that those are kind of grouped together. I didn't know that existed. Can you walk us through how to do that as well?
Absolutely. Let me get to a regular task or a regular space. So here, for example, when you're creating a new list, and we'll just call it a test list, you're used to probably just adding tasks kind of as they come. You can do that. It is a fantastic way to work. But if you want to add a little bit more organization, you would, again, there's like 2 ways to do everything, it feels like. But one of the ways is to click on the 3 lines again, select whatever tasks you want to group together. And then there's that option at the bottom called Group Them. And we'll just leave it as New Group. And so that kind of creates that additional level of organization. There is also another way. Say that you are starting off this task list and you already know what groups you want. At any point, you can click on the 3-dot menu to the right of the list and then click on Add a Group. And here we'll say another group, and I can even take these, maybe select both, move them around. I would like 2 to be here, 3 to be there. So you have a lot of options, but these groups can really kind of shape your lists. Kimberly, you had a lot of lists when you were working in event planning.
It's true.
They were extremely long, and they were, I can see for perhaps like a bride, how that might be a little bit intimidating. And so breaking the work up into littler pieces can be helpful for not only the organizational side of it, but to be able to say, okay, what am I going to accomplish within this week? I know there are a lot of things, but how do I isolate them? So this could be, instead of just by like meetup planning or any other portion of it, You can even say, I'm going to make this the priority. Times that, and that's right. And this is kind of the second priority. And so if it helps you prioritize, it's also another great way to use these to-do groups.
I mean, it just visually makes it so much easier on the eyes, I think, when you have any kind of long to-do list to group it into section like that. I
Absolutely.
did not know about this little feature. Who
It's a
knew?
great one. It's a great one. I love showing people.
Well, while we're on to-do list, let's go to hill charts. I know this is one of your personal favorites, and I gotta be honest, I didn't care about hill charts much. I
I
didn't really
know.
need them myself, but I've started using them in the last, oh, I don't know, 6, 7 months, and I understand your obsession.
Thank you. Thank you. I think that it really just depends on how your brain wants to work for a particular thing. So I don't recommend that you use them all the time consistently for everything because it's likely not going to be that your work follows a hill chart. And the same thing for, and we'll get into it, card table versus to-dos. So for whatever this might sound like it would be helpful for you, that's likely the best application for it. So when we get into these to-dos, we have all those lists. We maybe have some groups within those lists, or we can always set those up. But this is a lot of information. And so if I'm trying to understand, and let me kind of adjust the view here. If I'm trying to understand where the span of my tasks are, I have within the tasks a visual way to see 4 out of 10 are completed, 5 out of 8 are completed. That pie chart updates automatically, but that doesn't really tell the full story, does it? So let's scroll up here. The hill chart then divides things into figuring things out or making it happen. And so within that flow, within that hill, there's that middle point of kind of like we have reached, we have figured everything out and reached a point where we are now kind of just in the process of doing instead of deciding. And so you can say maybe that adding buckets, maybe we have none of them complete, but we have done this so many times that we really feel like it's here to start off with, even with 0 tasks checked off. And so that's what I mean by the story might not be there completely just by when something is done or not done. It doesn't really say where we are with this, how much of our own effort we're putting into it. So hill charts can really illustrate a lot more than just the binary of this is complete or not complete.
And similar to what Ashley was showing with mission control and move the needle specifically, there's also a history so you can see where things have progressed over time with these hill charts.
There's that see history option, and so we get that same kind of like a reverse timeline, or yeah, reverse. We'll call it reverse timeline view of where things started and where they are now. And of course, these can get as long as the project is as long, or they can be on the shorter side like this one. But as you kind of move through things, you'll be able to see how specific lists have moved from, for example, figuring things out into making it happen and done. So there's a nice way to kind of visualize this work and kind of really be descriptive about it. I've also seen people just take a quick screenshot of this and send that out to others, either in a message board post or in an email. Maybe like just one team is using Basecamp, but the rest of the company is using whatever else they're using. They will distribute that information over email. So it really has a lot of multiple applications and functions here.
And on that note, clients, if you have clients on your project, clients cannot see the hill chart. So that's another reason you might want to screenshot it for something to send out, is if you wanted a client to see an update. Otherwise, they're
Mhm.
not automatically added to that. They can't see the hill chart at all.
Right. So I would just maybe go like update for you, client. And as I include them in here, I would just paste that screenshot there and kind of keep things moving.
Okay, so you started to mention it, so I think this is a perfect time to go into it.
Yes.
To-dos versus card table. I know,
Yeah.
Ashley, you and the support team get lots of questions from people wondering when they should use one over another, especially when card table was released. Gosh, it's been what, a year now,
No,
maybe?
no, mind blowing. It feels new to me still, even though I like
Right.
have used it this whole time still. But um, the way that I like to think of to dos is if I don't have a lot of detail with it, then I like to mark it as a task. If I have something that I'm building out and it's taking It's like got a process behind it. If I maybe need to have the research stage and then a drafting stage, a feedback stage, client feedback stage, all these different pieces, that's really hard to indicate in either done or not done. It's possible, and we used to do it. So I'm not saying don't do that. But card table is there for you just in case you want to picture your work in a slightly different way. And I think just from a higher level, the people who are working on um, this group, these Daniel and Sarah individuals, they're working on the tasks themselves. The Tamir and Matt B person, they are on QA and they prefer to visualize their portion of the work in a card table. And that is just a mimic of what we do literally at Basecamp with every cycle. Our QA team does that every single time that we have a new feature that we need to test out before it goes live.
And I use card table for the podcast. So we produce 37 signals. Each episode is its own card. And so that card moves through stages of the process from like, here's an idea, which goes up into the triage section. And then the columns are we've recorded it, we've edited it, we're publishing it, promoting it. Those are kind of the stages of the process where, yes, each episode could be its own long to-do list, but for me, I think it's helpful to see it just in one card that moves through the stages. And then once the episode is done, it just goes to the done column.
I've also spoken to a fair number of people who are like, how do I see kind of all of my projects and who is owning it and what's going on with it? I also really like using a card table for that because you can, the work itself, like you were describing, that's a really great application of very, very common use of how to use card table. There's also just kind of like a broader picture version of it. And so, for example, within here, if I want to look at all of my projects in flight at one time, company-wide, maybe I have a smaller company, this is another great way to really accomplish that because then I can see, this project has been claimed. Eventually, it'll move into researching, so forth, into in progress, final stages, and then again to done. So, for example, if we click on this one, this card is just indicating kind of where the broad status of it is so that I can see everything else that's been claimed at one time or everything else that's in research at one time. And it doesn't have all the details that we needed to have. Instead, we just link out to that particular project, which has another card table in it, really just to illustrate that whatever it is that you need to accomplish with card table or to accomplish it has a progress and a structure to it. You can do that in a myriad of ways. Go back to this one. And just one other note here, just that because these columns are customizable, and maybe instead of claimed, this is all this particular person. Maybe it's like Liza's work specifically. And so that's another way that you can say, all right, I see that this person versus Kimberly versus Craig or whatever, that they all have a certain number of projects going on. And that can also help understand, what is the word? Resource management, right? And so that can help a little bit there.
Okay, so Ashley, while we're on card table, there are one brand new, like just released last week, and one relatively new update in card table. So let's talk about steps first and how they can be used, and then we'll talk about public links.
So let's actually go back to this one and see what we got here. So within all of these options, you have, or all these different cards, there are a few main pieces, a few main fields here. One of them is called steps, because another common question is, how do I relate my cards to my to-dos? They intentionally do not relate to one another. You can, of course, like copy something and then link to it, like link the to-do list into this particular space. But it often can just be helpful to use steps. So steps are like a lo-fi version of to-dos, so they don't have as many details, but maybe within the mobile assessment of this app, we need to, identify versions. I can assign that out to someone if I wanted to, and then I can even give it a due date. And so this is going to be very, really like a smaller version of what you would expect in the to-do section. There is no way to like bulk adjust, for example, but it does really help. Let me kind of zoom out to this to then see, all right, 0 out of 1 of those steps are completed. Or if I get it done and then move back out again, 1 out of 1 of those steps are completed. So those are really helpful when you need to break down the card into further pieces.
Absolutely. And then another feature literally just got released last week with card tables is making public links. So in the past, you could share with someone outside of Basecamp to-do lists, message board, documents, but card table was not one of those tools, but now you can.
Yes. And so a public link is something that you can generate and share with anyone in the world. So when they, let's copy this and just paste it. You can share this over email, over text, anywhere that you want to. Maybe you keep it as a, what is the word when you're a new company and you're releasing new features?
Oh, a roadmap, like a
Thank you.
feature roadmap?
Yes, like a feature roadmap. So maybe you don't even distribute it in that way. You just kind of have a link available for people who are curious about what's coming up. And so this is one way where people can understand kind of the broader picture of what's going on. They can click on something, and again, they have that kind of abbreviated version of what we saw before and we were editing. And so they see that that step exists, but there's no way to, for example, let's actually go back here to see a comment. So if I'm saying something, and maybe I will, just to kind of further identify something else, just to show that when something changes on one end, it then is on the public side, it also changes. But let's look at that particular card. We have that further identify step, but there's no mention of that comment at all. That is by design. Comments on any of your public links will not show up to kind of keep things a little bit more private for you.
And also on that note, with the card table public link, anyone who has the link can see it and click on any of these cards, but they can't make any changes. So they can't delete a card, move a card,
Right.
archive a card,
True.
edit it. They can't do anything other than click on it, open it, and then, like Ashley said, have an abbreviated information on that card.
Yep, absolutely. So
That just got released, and I know a lot of people are pretty excited about it, especially for roadmaps, public roadmaps, or anything else that you wanna share, maybe a process or your progress on something without giving people all the details
yeah.
and all the access to everything else in your Basecamp account. You can just share that one card table, which is such a great change.
It is. I see one question that I'm just gonna get out of the way now.
Yeah.
When you turn a link off and then turn it back on again, it does indeed generate a new link. So for example, here's the one that I used before. At the top, GUW, this one is XSE, so when you turn it off and you turn it back on, the link will be different. So if you do need to update it in a more public space, that has to be done once more. So there you go.
Great question.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we've talked a bit about card table. Ashley, let's talk about changing tools. I know I feel like when I've sat in on some of the demos you do, a lot of people are surprised by this ability
Truly.
to customize each project.
Yes, and for good reason, because when we used to, with the modal, the screen that you would come across when you created a new project didn't illustrate that there were options. But now, that's also been another nice change. There is a way to understand that you can change your tools later, and you could even change them right off the bat. So if you know that you don't want a group chat option, we can turn that off. We do want a card table, we can turn that on. And so as I go down here and create this project with a with a title, then I can adjust kind of what I have. So I start off with something that's a little bit more customized from the get-go, but maybe I know already that I want a second card table. So I will adjust my tools and click on add another, and I'll just leave the name. And so you can click on this anytime that you want to. You can move these anytime you want to. You can rename them to make them clearer for whatever it is that you need. So those options are just, they were a little bit more hidden, but hopefully now they're feeling a little bit more obvious. And so if you're not using something, even if it's been a project that you've had for 7 years, you can toggle that off and then come back to a slightly cleaner space to work in.
And in addition to changing the tools, you can also rename any of them. So if you wanted your task tool to be called Kimberly's task and add a second one called Ashley's task. Like you can
Right.
do all of that and rename anything that you want to. Oh, and this is a perfect transition into the schedule.
It's almost like she planned it. So there's just like, I've come across an interesting way to kind of approach the detailed tasks versus milestones. Because if you are a Basecamp customer and have been one since Basecamp Classic, one of the features that we had there was called milestones. And so as I talked to that group of people more frequently about moving from Classic to 2 to 4, milestones come up a little bit. And so here, what we can do in all of your schedule tools is decide what we want to see. So there's an option. This 3-dot menu is really kind of everything. So
When in doubt, go to the 3-dot menu.
please click on it. So there is an option there that says choose what to show. And so here's where you can say, do I want to see events that I add here only, or events and assignments with due dates? So let's rename this one. We'll just call it everything. And here's where I can see, maybe we'll call it like a specific meeting. And then if I go back to, let's create a task. We're going to create something like a dated task or a dated card so that it shows up on the schedule as it always does, unless you change the object. List, and we have a task, and this will be due later. Right, so now when we look at the schedule that has everything on it, we see that meeting and we see that task. If you have tons of things at one time, it can be a lot visually, especially because we have really adopted this agenda style view instead of like a classic grid calendar. So to further kind of indicate what it is that you want to see, maybe I really only want to see those major events. I don't want to see everybody's due dates. Let's save those changes. And so then it adjusts to not show you that information. It's on, all of it is on by default, so you're not going to miss anything just by using the tool. But if you want to further isolate this, so then let's call, instead of everything, let's call this milestones one more time. And maybe I will set up another schedule tool, and we'll say, we'll call it all of our due dates in one location. So the schedule tool is now just kind of masking as another way to streamline the information that you really need. So maybe I will only subscribe to this particular milestone schedule of this project, but not the other one. I don't need all those due dates for tasks that maybe don't belong to me on my external calendar, be it Hey, Google, Apple, or Outlook. But I do want these milestones so that I can plan my other work around it and see everything in one location.
That subscribe is a great way to use that. I know for me, I only subscribe to things that are appointments, events, not
Yes,
tasks, because I'm going to see the tasks in Basecamp. So I don't need them popping up on my calendar. But you get to choose. So that's what is so great about it being flexible.
it is. Yeah.
Ashley, we have knocked through so many things on our list. I'm so
Yeah.
excited. But lineup is one that we wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
So in your navigation bar is a link called the lineup, and we're going to show you how it works.
Yes, so lineup takes a prominent place in all of your, in every page that you're in Basecamp because it follows you in that navigation bar. And so what it wants to show you are any projects that you have with a start and an end date. So let's set that up. Let's click on, once again, the 3-dot menu, and then click on Edit Project Details. And this is going to give you a way to say, you know what, this project really felt like it started middle of January. We're probably going to go to the end of April. And so that, in addition to the needle, will pull up this kind of a timeline that has nothing to do with your tasks, by the way, nothing to do with your events, but it just gives the entire project some structure so that when you click on the lineup, you can kind of see where it is on this left to right timeline, left being in the past, your current day is going to be right there in the middle. And if you want to move forward 6 weeks, you can do that. Now this gets to be a little bit more alive as you have more projects, as things really start to overlap with one another. So here I was meetup planning at the same time as someone else was doing a logo redesign. So all of this concurrent work that we need to just keep track of can stay really clear in the lineup.
And that green vertical line always marks today. And you'll see that similar green line when you click into a project. Ashley, can you just click on that test project? That
Yes.
same green vertical line on that date scale is a similar process. So you'll always see that is today. Green line is today.
It's a really nice way. I think people visualize time in a lot of different ways, but having a clear, like, this is the middle of the project is also really nice, because especially compared with how things are feeling, maybe we're in the middle of our time, but it still feels like it's here. Perhaps I will adjust this to feel like it's at some risk, or maybe we've really kind of accomplished a lot within this time span. So kind of having the two next to each other was on purpose. And we just wanted to make sure that there was a way to see everything that was overlapping with one another. And if we go back a little bit, this is also an interesting way to add other significant events happening. So for us, our 6-week cycles, they're really important to us. And then we have 2 weeks off where we have like a cool down period. And then we start up with another 6 weeks again. And so from here, you can see that there, for example, cycle 5 started on Monday, August 21st, and we indicated that with this marker where we gave it a date and a title. And then cycle 5 ended on the 29th of September on a Friday. 2 weeks off, we actually had a meetup, and then cycle 6 began. So all of this information that is kind of relevant to the entire company is really helpful to have on the lineup. So you are kind of pulling in dates from other places, but it's done in a very like intentional kind of a way. It's not automatic.
And on that note, markers are only able to be added by admins and owners because they are company wide. Like anyone in your account is going to see the markers, not anyone can just add them. So owners and admins can add markers, but then everyone on the account can see the markers.
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
Okay, Ashley, last but not least, before we wrap it up here,
Yeah.
doors. Let's talk
Ah,
about adding doors when we're changing tools.
yep. Another great friend here. So for us, a common door that a door is a way to link to something else that doesn't live in Basecamp. You cannot code within Basecamp. So to get your coding updates, you need to use a different platform. We use GitHub, most people do. And so this will link out to whatever it is in GitHub that you're trying to reference. And so this can work for a ton of other situations beyond that. For example, if we go back to our test project and we set up our tools, that link, that blue link right above all of your different tools is where you're going to see the option to build out a door. So maybe maybe I'll take this Crowdcast link and then I will look for Crowdcast. If you don't see it, then you scroll all the way to the bottom and then you click on external service. And here's where I can paste the link. I can say, this is our office hours session. I can describe something here if I want to. And then I can even add an image if I want. So let's just save this for now. Let's go back here. And then this pulls this particular door onto your project page so that it has like a lot of prominence. So I can link out to the consistent Zoom link that we always use so that nobody forgets it. Or maybe I want to link out to a particular folder in Google Drive, or that one spreadsheet that I need every volunteer to click on. Then you can make it a little bit more front and center if you wanted to, so that all the links that you need, even if you're using external things other than Basecamp to get the work done, all of the links are still in one centralized location so that you know where things are. It's all like in this one drawer.
And we use doors, not only GitHub, like Ashley mentioned, but we also sometimes link to other Basecamp projects.
Yeah.
If there's something that's related to the project that you're on, it's an easy way to give people access to it quickly. They don't have to find anything, go searching for it. It's like, here's a door into this other project.
Yes. So for this people operations project, we have within it a way to get to the hiring project and a way to get to the meetup project. They may not be projects that are visible to everyone, but they are still projects that we want the people who do have access to click on them and then quickly get to this particular space.
Well, with that, Ashley, we're at our 45 minutes.
We're at time.
I know. We're about to wrap it up. If you have any final questions in the last minute, please post them for us. I think we've answered things in the chat. While we wait on that, just a couple of final wrap-ups. This session is being recorded. So if you need to go back and watch anything or you want to send it to a colleague, you'll just come back to the same link that you came to join. So in just a few minutes after we wrap up, the recording will be available at that same link. We'll also post it to YouTube.
We will. And also, if you are going through this recording and you're like, I get it, but now I have a very specific question based on my organization, that is perfect for me. My team and I, we love answering those kinds of questions. So if you could pivot those to guides@basecamp.com, let me throw that in there.
And
Then
I
that
just
is
popped
where,
it on the screen as
thank
well.
you. That is where I want you to reach out if you have any kind of questions about how to optimize Basecamp for your particular needs. We can have that conversation. Again, truly one of my favorite kinds of conversations. So might as well have this foundational information and then build from that.
Well, thank you guys for joining us. We will talk to you soon. And as Ashley mentioned, guides@basecamp.com if you have any specific questions that we didn't get to. Y'all have a great rest of your day.
Wonderful.